I call to order the Lake Havasu City Council regular meeting on Tuesday, April 10th, 2018 at 6 p.m. We'll now have an invocation by Pastor John Mackey.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we come before to you to acknowledge that you are God and sovereign over all. And we thank you, Lord, that you have given us a country which has fallen by the word of God, has acknowledged our rights that have come from God and given to us, and we can enjoy the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We thank you for Lake Havasu City, great city, and we thank you. We pray for its blessing upon this city. May you resist the evil. May you promote the good. May you promote the general welfare even in this meeting. Thank you for those who are here, who are serving you by serving the city. And so we ask that as we gather here today, you would give great wisdom and judgment in the process of making decisions. We acknowledge you, and we ask for your help and blessing. There may be disagreements, there may be different policies. We pray that through all of this, we may come to one mind of unity, and that the city would be done well. Bless those who are serving this city in protecting it from fire, from enemies, for the police, all of those who are serving. We give praise and thank you for them. May you help the city through them. We pray all these things, and we ask your blessing on this time in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. Would the city clerk please call the roll?
Council members Mark Nixon.
Here.
Jenny Koch. Here. Gordon Grote.
Here.
David Lane.
Here.
Michelle Lynn. Here. Donna McCoy. Here. Cal Sheehy.
Okay, item 5 on our agenda is our initial call to the public. This is a open call to our citizens that would like to address city matter under the city's jurisdiction. Please keep in mind that when you do come up, since the item is likely not agendized, we won't be able to have a lengthy conversation about this, but we can ask staff to follow up with you at a later date or put it on an agenda at a later date. When you do come up, it's up at the lectern. The microphone's already up. Please state your name, spell your last name for the benefit of the city clerk. And you'll also notice a little box to your right. Green means go, yellow means 1 minute of the 5 minutes is remaining, and red means you need to wrap it up. So again, if you would like to come on up, please do. And so let me call for citizens who would like to address the council as part of call to the public. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Would any of the council members like to remove any of the items for separate discussion? Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion?
Please.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. All right, item 7 on our agenda, correspondence, communications, petitions, announcements, and the city manager report. First up will be an update from the Lake Havasu City Convention and Visitors Bureau. Terrence.
This is what I need right here to, okay.
Hope so.
I hope so too. There it is. Okay, I got it. All right, well, thank you very much for inviting me for this opportunity to come and talk to you about the Lake Havasu City Convention and Visitors Bureau. I haven't met everyone here, so I'm going to introduce myself now. My name is Terrence Concannon, and I have been the president and CEO of the Lake Havasu Convention and Visitors Bureau since July 1st. I moved to Lake Havasu, I think it was June 14th to work on the budget, because I obviously, my board of directors wanted me to enact a budget that I had worked on. And this is probably the last time I'll say this, but it was 123 degrees on the day I moved here. And the day I left Pismo Beach, California, in the morning, it was 61 degrees. So it was double. But I've now been here for almost 10 months, and this is one of the greatest communities I've been in. It's been one of the most welcoming and gracious communities. So I really appreciate this opportunity. Let me give you a little overview of what we do. You may have seen an ad we placed in the newspaper recently about our organization. And what we are is storytellers. What we do is we tell the story of Lake Havasu City. We tell the story of its history. We tell the story of what its people are like and what people can expect when they come here to visit for a vacation. As you can see up there in the green is myself, President and CEO. I am also a certified tourism ambassador, as is all of my staff, with the few exceptions of a few visitor center volunteers. So very quickly, Colleen Prine is our director of operations, and she is, I call her my boss, because nothing would get done without her. She's a tremendous resource. Pam Swenson is our travel counselor. So when visitors call for information from our organization, they first talk to Pam, and she counsels them on what to see, what to do, and how to find out more information. Following that is Jackie Leatherman. She formerly our director of event marketing. I have repositioned her, and that has not gone through all the way through yet, but she is now the director of travel industry marketing. That's a position we had not had before, and I feel it's very important, and I'll go into more of that later on. Tara Watkins is our newest hire. She's our marketing and events manager. She comes to us from Orange County. She comes to us with a tremendous amount of skills as well. She's going to be handling marketing for us, doing graphic design, doing photography, helping out with events. She's also a talented artist, painter, an illustrator, and has 2 children's books for sale on Amazon. So she's quite the catch here in Lake Havasu. Just moved here and just got married. Jason Castellucci is our director of consumer marketing. He was formerly a director of digital marketing, but he also handles our print and broadcast, and so I've repositioned or simply changed his title to director of consumer marketing. And then, of course, possibly the most important person in our organization is Jan Cassius, who is right now in Amsterdam visiting his family. I shouldn't say Amsterdam, he's actually in Holland, but not Amsterdam, visiting his family. And he's our director of visitor services, oversees our volunteers that give people information when they come to visit the visitor center, and oversees the London Bridge tours and the retail outlet at our visitor center. So in August, our board of directors got together for a strategic planning retreat, and these are some of the things that we decided needed to be done. The first one was we needed to take a new look at downtown, and I'm looking at downtown as a rookie with fresh eyes, and I think downtown is one of the best, and I won't even say a diamond in the rough, because I think it's a diamond. So what my board wanted me to do was to take an avid interest in that, and to that extent, the former Main Street Merchants Association has gone by the wayside for lack of filing reports. I have a committee that has met with several downtown business owners and managers, and we're getting together a new organization. How that organization is constructed will be up to the participants. But what we hope to do is reposition downtown as a very important visitor. To get more visitors to go down there. We want to do that by more events downtown and possibly helping out with new builds and new structures and attractions that might go downtown. But events is probably the one thing I'm hearing the most from the city and from the downtown merchants about what they'd like to explore. So as we move forward on that, I will definitely come back and give you updates. As regards our visitor center, there's a rumor going around, people have been emailing me that we are moving our visitor center. We are not moving our visitor center. Our visitor center needs to be by our iconic London Bridge, and so the visitor center will stay by the London Bridge. We are, however, looking at an additional facility that would not simply be a visitor center, but be a way for people to understand Havasu and to understand where we came from and where we're going. And so to that extent, and I won't go too much into it now because we're still trying to envision it, but this title is just something I'm working off, the Experience Havasu Center. And it will be like a visitor center, but I hope to have it downtown, and I hope for it to be a much more immersive experience into Havasu. You know, Havasu has such a unique history, and a lot of that, unless you go to the visitor center and you go to the museum and you stop by the CVB, we want one-stop shop for everyone to understand how amazing our location is and the incredible history that we have. So right now we're engaging in public and private partnerships to make that happen. And again, as we move forward on that, I'll be happy to come back and give you updates. And finally, the easiest thing that was our strategic initiative is the board of directors tasked us with deciding whether or not we needed to change our name. Well, I can't tell you how many syllables Lake Havasu City Convention and Visitors Bureau is, but it's quite a few. And so we've decided to change it to Go Lake Havasu. Why Go Lake Havasu? Easy. Because it's our URL. Because we have so much digital goodwill built up with that URL, it would be foolish for us to change it to anything else. Now, go is a verb that I like very much. Every other place says visit or see. Des Moines, Iowa, it actually says catch. Des Moines, Iowa. I don't know where that comes from, but go is a verb that encompasses anything you can do in Lake Havasu. You could boats, hiking, four-wheel driving, even kicking back by the pool is a way to go. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to do it in the next fiscal year. So how do we tell the Lake Havasu city story? Well, we tell it by a variety of ways. We do it through consumer marketing, travel industry marketing, media engagement and public relations, and advocacy. Consumer marketing is exactly what you expect it to be. We do a ton of social media content. We do print advertising, television. We don't do too much radio. We don't do any radio at this point, but it's something that we may look to in the future. Specifically, streaming radio is a new way to get the message out. Also, our website and our visitor and dining guides. Now, travel industry marketing is something that this organization hasn't done too much of in the past, but it's very, very important. It's basically B2B. And what it is myself and Jackie Leatherman as our travel industry marketing director will be going to trade shows. To give you an example, well, I'll go into that when we get to that slide. But we also want to bring into our city familiarization tours. And what they are, a familiarization tour is when you get a group of travel agents, perhaps foreign, perhaps domestic, but you come here and you immerse them in the Lake Havasu experience. When I worked in the hotel industry, there's a saying, and I'm sure you guys have heard it before, that a person can never understand what you have to offer until they come to your facility and see it. The same way with city. And we want those people to come here, see what the city has to offer, because when I go to trade shows or Jackie goes, we can talk and we can show videos, and we can play sound for them, but nothing's going to give them the Havasu experience like being here and experience it for themselves. The trade shows and the familiarization tours will bring us receptive and group tour operators. And what those are foreign companies that bring in group tours that travel for 1 week to 2 weeks. And there are tons going through Las Vegas, tons going through Phoenix, and we want them to stop here. There's only a few stopping here right now. We want to increase that. And then media engagement and public relations, we'll get to that, as well as advocacy. So consumer marketing. On our social media platforms, what we do is we create content. And we create content with the expressed desire to have people engage that content and react to it. And so that's what we do. We create content that engages users, attracts positive awareness of our community, and offers a flavor of the Havasu lifestyle and its appeal as a world-class destination. And remember, world-class. Some of the highlights we've had this year, 140% increase in social media engagement since 2015. Of course, we just got mentioned on the Oscars, so we had 708% increase in new users to our website. We had a 150% increase in new users after our new Balance Day proclamation, and then 125% increase in new users after Jimmy Kimmel Live, which kind of surprised me because there was so much good stuff said on Jimmy Kimmel Live. But when it comes to print, by the way, is there any water in here? Even when I'm not nervous, I get dry mouth when I'm speaking. So in consumer marketing, we also do print. And obviously we do, our print outreach consists of trusted publications, along with magazines that are new and fresh. And one magazine that's particularly new and fresh is Route Magazine, or Route Magazine. Thank you. Now this is a very beautiful, high-end magazine that caters to millennials. But it centers around Route 66. And so what you'll see it's fantastic paper, it's well written, and it just started 2 months ago, and I got outreached by the publisher and said, would you like to be a part of this? And he gave me a look at it, and I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And when I got the final product, I was so damn impressed that I signed up for the rest of the year, and he gave me the amazing deal that he gave me at the first one. So it's a terrific publication. I look forward to being in it. And to the extent that it is about Route 66, it also allows us to expand our Route 66 marketing. And we also do television and digital video. And I did bring some examples of some of our videos. I'm not sure how I would play them on the screen from here. The play button is down at the bottom. Is there any way? If not, I can certainly I could describe them for you. I'd rather not do that though.
Just act them out for us.
Not the first one. Yes. Yeah. The first one is our Spring Break 2018 video. Maybe down to the right. Well, the Spring Break video is a fantastic video, and that's the reason I put it up there first. It was very well done. The other commercials are 15 and 30 seconds, and you can actually find these on our YouTube site. So the 15 and 30-second commercials are basically the same. We've just repositioned them at different lengths so we can use them for different purposes on television. The promo video is a longer version. It's an hour version of that, a 1-minute version of those commercials. Our boating promo is probably our least compelling video because I'm in it. And it's about boating on the lake, and it was so well done. It was just a matter of one of the boat purveyors coming out and saying, "Hey, would you sit down for an interview?" And 2 weeks later, he sent me back this wonderful video. And then the events one describes all the wonderful events we have here. Okay, that's okay. And again, our Go Lake Havasu YouTube page will let you see those. So let's keep going through. There we go. That's not good. There we go. There we go. Our website is golakehavasu.com, and I thought this would be an interesting graphic for you to look at. As you can see from the pie chart, the vast majority, 93.8%, I believe, of our viewers come from the USA. The next larger one is others, actually. Next largest one is Latin America, and following that up is Canada, and then Great Britain. The others would include, the largest one was Germany, Sweden, and Ireland. But those are very minuscule, but we love anytime anybody comes to our city from another country, regardless of how few or how many, we love it. So golakehavasu.com also now has 2 webcams. When I joined, we had one that was situated on the London Bridge Resort, and looking at the London Bridge and the Bridgewater Channel. We now have one that's based on the Visitor Center and looking in the opposite direction. We're looking for other ways to install webcams because webcams bring us so much traffic to our website. There's currently one on the Heat Hotel that is not being utilized, so at some point I'm going to speak with Allison about that. And then we'd like to put one downtown, and we're having scouts coming into town in the next couple weeks to find a place that would be good for that. The one downtown not only would be a good way to showcase our city, but if we are successful in getting more events downtown, then it's a wonderful way for people to see what's going on. Just to go through a few numbers, as you can see, we have over 100,000 monthly users, and I think that's incredible. New users in March were 88,000. That's an anomaly. That's of course because of all the wonderful media mentions we had in international media. Our average session duration is one to be noted. It's actually 2 minutes and 1 second, and that's quite a long time for people to be engaged on our website. So that's very encouraging. We also put out visitors and dining guides. Our dining guide is already out, and we put 35,000 of those, and those guides are distributed up and down the Colorado River. And then the visitor's guide will be going to press at the end of this week. We print 200,000 of those. Last year we did 220. Well, we got a later start this year. So 200,000 will be printed. And as you can see from the graphic, they will be distributed throughout Colorado, Arizona, California, Washington, New Mexico, Colorado, and Oregon. So travel industry marketing, again, something we haven't done too much of with the Convention and Visitors Bureau in the past, but something we definitely need to do to engage the world and let them know what an amazing place Lake Havasu and Lake Havasu City is. The graphic up there just shows some of the largest receptive operators and group tour operators and ones that I've worked with in my career on a very close basis. The graphic up there, IPW, which happens in May, is the largest trade show for international engagement. And this will be my 12th year of attending IPW. And just to give you a quick overview of what it is, it's a speed dating show. And so over 3 days, I have 15-minute appointments with 44 different domestic or international buyers. Right now, I'm very encouraged because to give you an extent of how difficult this can be, I used to do this for Pismo Beach too. Now Pismo Beach has been going to IPW for over 25 years. I've got more pre-appointments already than Pismo Beach did last year when I was doing it, and more than they have this year. I'm not trying to badmouth Pismo Beach. What I'm saying is that, and not just because of the Oscars, because we haven't been to this event in so long, there is a pent-up demand for this location. Europeans love the heat. They love the stark landscapes of our desert, and they're going to love it even more when they find this beautiful, refreshing body of water next to us. So I'm very excited about the engagement that I'm receiving from that. Where we are right now is I put in 50 requests for appointments. I've gotten 16 back, and on the 26th, I will find out how many more I get. At that point, I will then be hunkering down in my office for 3 straight days, calling people, emailing them, making sure that every one of my appointments is filled. On top of that, because of the Oscar mention, and because of the Jimmy Kimmel stuff and the New Balance shoe, I have engaged with journalists. At this trade show, there's a media marketplace upstairs in the convention center. I can't afford to do that this year, and I can't be in 2 places at one time. But I've reached out to the journalists, to 97 journalists, and 32 of them have indicated a willingness and an interest in coming down and talking to me on the trade show floor about Lake Havasu. A lot of that has to do with the Oscars. I'd like to remind you that 29.5 million people saw or heard the 3 words Lake Havasu City all over the world, and that has a tremendous amount of reach. So the IPW and the Go West Summit, which Jackie will be going to, what we do is we get people interested in the London Bridge Resort, in the Days Inn, in the Quality Inn, in the heat. We get people interested in the hotels, in the restaurants, in the attractions, in the reasons to come here. And then what I do is I put together a lead sheet and I transmit it to all the hotels. Now, there will be certain buyers that will only want certain hotels. There will be ones that will only want economy hotels. There are ones that will want a far more luxurious experience. So that'll be put together in a matrix, and it will be distributed to the hotels, and then they hopefully, and I'll follow up with them, they will go ahead and close those deals for us. Media engagement and public relations. So again, I'm talking about the Oscars a lot, but there's a lot to talk about. The Oscars, Time Magazine mentioned us at the beginning of the year as the 2nd best place to retire in the United States. Mayor Nexon and I had a blast proclaiming New Balance Day in the city. And of course, there's the picture of the infamous New Balance shoe right there. And of course, Boat USA, which is the Westways for the boat insurance company, just did a tremendous article about us as well. So we take those articles and we push them on social media. I go and talk about them. We do whatever we can to capitalize on it. In fact, I was referring to the Bureau after the Oscars as a dairy farm, because all we did for 3 weeks was milk all this great and positive attention that we've been getting. And we got a lot of attention out of it. So we capitalize on that positivity by enhancing our stories to maximize exposure and interest. And we create additional related content. what we might do, like with the Oscars. We reached out to the Jimmy Kimmel Show. We invited them to Havasu. They said they loved the idea because Jimmy knows this place very well. They don't have any plans to do it right now because these things take time, but they said by the end of the year, it's very likely that they will come out and either do a remote or some sort of a show from here. We've also reached out to Mr. Bridges, the guy that won the jet ski, and invited him to come here to celebrate Havasu, to take his jet ski out, but also to come and speak to our ASU students and our high school students and tell stories about Hollywood and how he got to do what he did, what he's doing. He also loves that idea. However, when you win an Oscar, you automatically becomes very, very busy. So he's working on 2 back-to-back films. They said he would love to come here and plans to, but it will probably be the fall before he's able to do so. We said he could come anytime he wants. And this is just a fun graphic showing just in the last 2 months how many different areas and publications we have been featured in. You can see we've been in the Niagara Falls, and we've been in the Philippines. In fact, I got to tell you, one of the funnest things I've ever done at this job was coming to work on Monday morning after the Oscars. I got in at 6 because I anticipated phone calls, and I was absolutely correct in that. I was talking on the phone until 6:30 that night, and when I made my nightly call to my father after that, I just was like, blah, 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 blah. He's like, what is the matter with you? So I told him the whole story, and he was as excited as I am. So advocacy, one of the things that I do personally is advocate, and I advocate so the city sees the benefit in what we do at the Lake Havasu City Convention and Visitors Bureau. I advocate and work with Arizona Office of Tourism. In fact, I just had a nice conversation today with Debbie Johnson, and we stay in touch, and I've been staying in touch with her ever since I came into this position. We also advocate on the national level. We are members of U.S. Travel Association, and I stay in touch with all of their initiatives. And we also are members of the Arizona Lodging and Tourism Association, which helps lobby at the state level for laws and regulations that will benefit us and our stakeholders. Event funding and marketing. This is, of course, one of the most important things that we do. We currently have over 300 events annually, and just as a new guy here in town, I can't tell you how exciting that is. I can only imagine how other communities would love to have that many amazing events. We fund events through a mixture of capital seed money sometimes, but mostly through marketing assistance. Our top events typically bring in 400 to 500 room nights each, and we focus on our need times of September through February. When I came into this position and I looked at our event funding, it appeared that we had been all over the map in the last several years. And so what I have done is worked with my staff, and in particular Jackie Leatherman, to focus that down. So I'm not a big fan of giving money to things that aren't successful. I expect events, if I'm going to fund them, if my organization is going to invest in them, I expect them to be run like businesses. I expect them to be self-sustainable after 3 years or a negotiated time. And I expect them to do their marketing outside of us as well. We will market every event that comes to town, but I expect our event purveyors to treat their event with as much care as we would if we were doing our own event. So I expect them to run a sustainable business. I expect them not to come back every year and ask for the same amount of money they had this year. And I come to this as somebody who has done that before in the past. I was the founder and the chief and the director for the International Chardonnay Symposium in the Central Coast of California. And I went back, I went to the Pismo Beach City Council and asked for $60,000, which they gave me. And the next year I went back and asked for another $60,000, which they gave me. With the caveat that I would never come back and ask them for any more money. And they were right to do that. And because of that, we were able to use that $60,000 expediently so that we were able to run the event like a business. And that's the way we intend to fund our events. So just to read what's on the screen there, our funding focuses on recruiting and retaining long-term specter and athletic events, which will have the greatest impact on our tourism revenues and our hotel RevPARs. or a hotel's revenue per available room, which is how hotels, the most effective measure of a hotel's revenue. Film Commission, I don't really have any text on this, but this again is something that's been kind of by the wayside in previous years, but we are taking a more focused approach on it. We have enjoined with the Arizona Office of Commerce. I'm not saying that correct, but they are the ones that run the state film commission, and so we are engaged with them, and we have they have a site up there where you can put pictures for locations and stuff like that, and we've engaged with them. Jackie Leatherman is our film commissioner because she knows every facility in this town, and she's the most prudent one to do that. And I will say that she has worked on she's working on 13 productions right now. I cannot tell you what those productions are because discretion is very important to these producers, and she's worked on about 7 previous. Unfortunately, none of those came to fruition, but we don't feel that the work that our organization engaged in was a waste of our time. And I do want to tell you that we are not looking for Piranha 3D or Highway to Havasu type productions. The I Am Havasu project. This is a project that no one really knows about except for a few students at ASU. It's not really. It started out as just a Terrence Concannon project and not a Convention and Visitors Bureau project. And what it is like a lot of you, I moved here, and I moved here from California. And when I came here, I met so many different people with so many different ideas and so many reasons for being here. Some people moved here because they wanted to get off the grid. Some people moved here because they liked the heat. Some people moved here because they just didn't like where they were before. And there was so much diversity of ideas and reasons. And so I came up with I Am Havasu, We Are Havasu, This is Havasu. And what it is your smartphone. And what you would do is you'd put it up and do a selfie of yourself, maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. We can't show the video, but the students at ASU have done a kind of a pilot one for me so that if I need to go for grant money, I've got something to go off of. But what it is if I was to do a video, and I'm going to do one soon, I will stand in front of the camera and I will say, I am Terrence Concannon, and I moved to Lake Havasu because I was offered an amazing job. When I came to Havasu, I found a community that is gracious, that is welcoming, a community that loves its community and loves the citizens that they live around, and a community that cares about the surrounding areas and the beauty around it. I am Havasu. And that is it. So my idea is to get citizens to make these videos, groups to make these videos, companies to make these videos, so that we put them together and I can use them when I go out in trade shows and show everyone what incredible people we have here and what incredible ideas and why they're here. And then James Gray can use it when he's trying to get businesses to relocate here, because then they can see what incredible citizenry we have. And Lisa Kruger can use it when she's trying to attract people to relocate here. So it's not really a function of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but it's something that I've been working on my off hours and something that I'm going to try and bring into the Convention and Visitors Bureau and into the building that I'm in, which houses, of course, the Chamber and the PED. As we move forward on that, I also purchased IamHavasu.com and wearehavasu.org. And so as we move forward, we'll put those on the website, and I'll come back here and give you guys an update. Of course, we couldn't do any of this without our trusted partners and friends, and of course, you guys are at the top of that list. Arizona Office of Tourism, the Arizona Association for Economic Development. All of these organizations are organizations that either feed us content, give us reasons to come to work every day, help us out getting the word out, or help us by getting the word out to those that can also get the word out. We couldn't do it without any of these organizations. We couldn't do it without you, and we couldn't do it without the help of the citizenry of this town. And that is basically my report. So thank you, Mayor Nexon and City Council, for having me here. I will, in case you don't already know, I'll introduce a few people that I work with. One of the most incredible staff I've ever had. This is Jason Castellucci. That is Colleen Kern. Up there, looking silly, is Don Castles. In the telephone booth, at the forefront, is Pam Swenson, Hunter Jack Bowman, and my newest employee, Tara Watkins. Now, I do want to talk about that photo because my idea coming from California. I had them all dressed up in white shirts and looking similar, and then we did some sort of a pose thing by the channel, and it looked dumb because it wasn't Havasu. It was California. So my staff suggested that, and they couldn't have been more right. They captured it, the fun of Havasu. And that's what we hope to convey to all of our visitors and all the people we hope to visit. So that is my report. I'm, of course, happy to take any questions from the council and, of course, any questions from the public.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. Mr. Kuncan, am I saying that correctly?
You are.
I want to thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Really impressed. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you've changed your organizational structure to support your new vision of where we're going to be going. And I'm really pleased with the technology that you're going to be wrapping around all this. I did have a question in terms of a lot of people don't really think how hard it is to do what you do. But, you know, if you're not from here, you haven't been here, you don't have a real reason to be here. Really only what you know about this place is what somebody's told you or what you can see on the internet, what you can easily have access to. And you mentioned you were going to be going to, I think it was Denver, for, there's a pent-up demand for tour operators and so forth.
Right.
I don't know if anybody's told you this, but like 35, 40 years ago, there was a lot of that took place in this community.
Right.
I don't think it was planned by the city, but it's the way it happened because we had tour operators here who understood how to work that.
Sure.
So I thought that was a great idea. I've had some people mention to me, why don't we do that? And it's
Well,
really neat to see you do that.
It is great. It's such a, you know, to put it in very blunt terms, the thing that's really great about that is you've got a busload of anywhere between 20 and 40 people, and they come in and they stay for 1 or 2 nights, and they drop a ton of money, and then they continue on their way. Now, I have no problem with them staying, obviously, but that's the beautiful thing about tourism. What could be nicer than people coming in, staying for a short time, dropping some money, and then taking off? Now, when the bus tours come, I mean, that's what we want times 20 or 30 or 40. So I'm very excited to see what we can do with IPW. When I talk about it, I get goosebumps because I'm a nerd when it comes to tourism stuff. But it's going to be so exciting because if the hotels do their follow-up, and I'll push them if they do their follow-up, and I know they will because they want the business. It's going to be really exciting to see what kind of an impact that might have on our bed tax and what kind of an impact that might have ancillary revenue in the community. So
That's one thing I wanted to also ask you about was, the ancillary revenue piece, because quite often, we should be enormously proud of the amazing events that we have here. We have a lot of them, and they're really quite spectacular in scope, many of them. Anybody can say, okay, if they're here for 3 days, take the average daily spend times the number of people, and they're here for 3 days, and then you have a number.
right.
That's what your event brought in. But there's something else, and I was curious what your sense is of this, being a professional in this field. It's called the economic impact multiplier. So the money doesn't end just because somebody spent $300 at the hotel.
Right.
That money sort of goes out into the community in different ways. And some communities have identified roughly what they think their economic impact multiplier is. Have you looked at that, or would that be something that you would, look at so that people can get a better sense of what the overall economic impact
it's
is?
interesting you bring this up because I just had that conversation with my staff about 2 weeks ago. To the extent that when groups do come to town, we contact the hotel. We try to get a sense of how much revenue has been left in the town. But I don't feel that we've been doing a good enough job. So I've tasked my staff with looking for a way and looking for that formula that you might be talking about, and so that we can extrapolate how much more money that we're not seeing from those particular tourists. So that is something it's not something that I can tell you right now but it's something we are looking into, because the more we understand the impact of the revenue, the more we understand where the revenue is actually coming from and how it chains, the better job we can do in selling our product.
Appreciate your report
Thank you.
tonight. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, we're going to move on to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Item 8.1 is regarding, oops, I'm sorry. You already want to do a city manager report. I think Terrence already did it for you. I'm kidding. Mr. Knudsen.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Also, we got to do vacancies. I'm sorry.
You want to do that one first, or you want to go into the
Yeah, let's
manager's
do the
report?
vacancies first. I'm sorry.
Mayor and City Council, there are a number of vacancies on Lake Havasu City boards, committees, and commissions. The following is a listing of those vacancies. Airport Advisory Board, 1 regular pilot member, 1 alternate pilot member, 1 alternate non-pilot member. Board of Adjustment, 6 regular members, 3 alternate members. At this time, there are no vacancies on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, the Planning and Zoning Commission, or the Public Safety Personnel Retirement System. Citizens are able to submit an application for those if they are interested, and we will hold them up for a year, up to a year, in the event there's a vacancy. Applications are available in the city clerk's office and also available on the city's website.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. And now our city manager report, Mr.
And
Knudsen.
now, Mayor and Council, good evening. Go ahead and get started with the manager's report for this evening. A few items to discuss, including the Student Government Day. The Mayor, City Council, and City staff took a back seat and let the high school students host a mock City Council meeting on Thursday, April 5th. What a great experience. The engaged high school students discussed the Echo Environmental Learning Center, and they ultimately voted to construct a project with strategic partners. Gavin Lintz, as you see in the photo in the middle there, he is a high school freshman and a member of the Havasu Youth Advisory Council. He played the role of mayor and commented that being mayor on this mock city meeting was a great experience for myself and gave me a realistic idea of what the mayor goes through. So we had a lot of laughs that morning and appreciated that the ability to help educate the students. So they became very engaged with lots of great questions.
If he does too much more of it, though, he's going to lose that nice head of hair.
The before and after picture? I'd like to talk about Ella Wolford. She is a member of the Havasu Youth Advisory Council, and she attended the 17-18 Democracy Final Showcase as a guest speaker and a judge. The HYAC won first place in the 2016-2017 competition for their project to improve teacher retention. They created a website where participants can purchase school supplies for local teachers through Amazon.com. Their website is still active at www.projectweoutcare.com. She said she had an opportunity to listen to the youth councils pitch their research, their ideas, and final solutions to the problems their communities face. She'd like to thank the mayor and the council and everyone that continues to support the Havasu Youth Advisory Council. And we're very proud of Ella and her contributions to the HYAC. In case you haven't heard, there was a fire at Body Beach. It was on Saturday, March 31st, and I would like to recognize our police chiefs and fire chief and the crews that responded and did a great job of responding to the fire in that area. There was no property damage or injuries that were reported. The fire did leave a mess of trash and burnt brush that created a danger for anyone visiting that area. As a city, we were very concerned for the health and welfare of our residents and asked residents to stay clear of that area. Work began today to clean up the Body Beach area. So this land is owned by Arizona State Land Department, and the city had to first obtain permission from Arizona State Land Department and obtain a stormwater construction general permit from ADEQ to legally and properly clean the area. We finally received that permission after many, many days of communication with the State Land Department, and we appreciate their permission to enter the property. City crews and equipment included 20 employees, 3 front-end loaders, and 3 dump trucks. Being very careful not to disturb the ground and vegetation, city crews removed the majority of trash within the 8 acres that was affected by the fire. And just today, we took 5 full dump truck loads of trash to the dump. Later in the week, we'll use heavy equipment to start cleaning brush and remaining trash. And all the trash and brush will be removed, and then we'll bring in about 6 inches of fill dirt, and the end result will be a safe area for the public to visit. Thank you, Mark Clark and the Operations Department for your efforts there. Vietnam Veterans Dinner was a success. We had over 250 veterans, active service, and family members that attended the Vietnam Veterans Spaghetti Dinner that was sponsored by the London Bridge Resort. Mayor Nexon and Judge Kalali opened the heartfelt speeches, and we thanked and welcomed all the veterans home. Many enjoyed the spaghetti dinner, the large maps with conversations, and simply an opportunity for the veterans to meet with old friends and make many new ones. Kudos to the community members, the volunteers, and everyone who's responsible for making this such a great event. And I'd like to thank the Marine Corps League Detachment 757 for the use of their photos. The Lake Havasu Metropolitan Organization is developing a list of potential projects to improve travel and safety for bicyclists and pedestrians in Lake Havasu City. So please join us on Wednesday, April 18th at the Quality Inn from 5:30 to 7 p.m. We'd like to hear your thoughts and your input on the projects that are planned for the area. We did it one more time, the second time since I've been here. Lake Havasu City won the Fitbit Challenge once again. We've our city employees competed against Kingman and Bullhead City, and again we walked away victorious. So this is a Fitbit challenge in terms of which employees receive the most steps. I know Mayor Nexon, you're very proud of this this belt.
I wish it would have been left at Body Beach.
This is a competition that promotes the health and awareness for our employees and helps us keep healthcare costs down. And you got to appreciate the ability for us to have the bragging rights just a little bit over Kingman and Bullhead City. The Lake Havasu Community Choir surprised the Veterans Resource Team last week with a check for $10,000. The money will be used to support the efforts of the Veterans Court and all its participants. Thank you very much to the Lake Havasu Community Choir for your generous donation. And we'd like to congratulate the newest graduates of the Veterans Court program. We had 11 Veteran Court veterans participated in the 21st graduation just last Friday on April 6th. And at that time, we honored the 100th graduate of the program. So a very special moment for the Veterans Court program. The Lake Havasu City Veterans Treatment Court gives veterans who faithfully serve their country a second chance by promoting sobriety, recovery, and stability through our treatment programs. To date, we've had 197 veterans who've been admitted to the Veterans Treatment Court. 102 have graduated from the program, and 61 of these veterans are still being monitored by and treated through the court system. We have a flagpole. Many residents noticed the flagpole was not installed at the time the ribbon was cut at Cypress Park. So would like to provide notice to the council and the residents that the flagpole is now installed, and we are proudly displaying the American flag. And finally, every year, the second week of April, the telecommunications personnel and the public safety community are honored. This is a week-long event, and it's a time to celebrate those who have dedicated their lives to serving the public. In our Emergency Communications Center, our public safety dispatchers answer calls from those in need. They provide life-saving medical and CPR instruction and calmly provide callers with the information they need in dangerous and life-threatening situations. Our dispatchers manage and coordinate police, fire, and emergency medical service response, often during critical circumstances. Their sacrifices frequently go unnoticed by the public, so please take the opportunity to thank and celebrate our Lake Havasu City public safety dispatchers. Thank you to all of our dedicated employees that provide us with great service. So, Mayor and Council, that concludes my manager's report. I can answer any questions or provide any information. Please let me know.
Any questions? No? All right. Thank you, Jess. All right. Item 8.1 is regarding a Series 12 restaurant liquor license. Ms. Williams.
Mayor and City Council, Shadib Chitha has applied for a Series 12 restaurant liquor license for India Spice and Bar located at 460 El Camino Way. All posting requirements have been met, all fees have been paid, and no objections were received. The location is properly zoned for a Series 12 liquor license.
All right. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the City Council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor,
Yes,
Motion.
please.
I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve a Series Number 12 liquor license for India Spice and Bar at 460 El Camino Way.
Second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to item 8.2, adopt ordinance number 18-1196, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 14.05.01, reviewers and decision-making bodies regarding term limits for Board of Adjustment and Planning and Zoning Commission members. Ms. Gary.
Mayor and Council, this item was introduced at the last City Council meeting. No changes were suggested, but for clarification purposes, this action only limits terms. It doesn't eliminate a term. So although somebody's term will be for 2 or 3 years or whatever is prescribed, they would then reapply for that position again. There was confusion and maybe that the terms now went on endlessly, and they don't. There's still a term, there's just not a limit on the number of terms that someone may serve. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, staff recommends the adoption of this ordinance.
Any questions? All right, once again, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
motion?
yes, please.
I move to adopt ordinance number 18-1196, amending Lake Havasu City Code Section 14.05.01, reviewers and decision-making bodies regarding term limits to Board of Adjustment and Planning and Zoning Commission members.
Second.
I'm sorry, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any final discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much. Okay, item 8.3, adopt ordinance number 18-1197, amending Lake Havasu City Code 2.60, personnel system to remove section 2.60.100, fingerprinting. Ms. Gary.
Mayor and Council, this item was also introduced at the last City Council meeting. All it does is recognize that background investigations are now done through an online process, so we are updating the code to reflect that practice. No changes were suggested. Happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, staff recommends the adoption of this ordinance.
Any questions from council? Once again, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the city council? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
motion?
Yes, please.
I move to adopt ordinance number 18-1197, amending Lake Havasu City Code 2.60, personnel system to remove section 2.60.100, fingerprinting.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. I think, did you hit, there we go. Any final discussion? Hearing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to 8.4, adopt ordinance number 18-1191, implementing phase 1 of the Havasu Riviera specific plan adopted in 2008, revising the district boundary by rezoning a 35-acre area from AP Agricultural Preservation District to 4 acres of MUG, Mixed Use General, and 31 acres of MUN, Mixed Use Neighborhood, and applying the previously approved maximum allowing building height of up to 60 feet. Mr. Schmeling.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Actually, the item before you is a very simple rezoning, although it took a lot to state. The property, the 35 acres, is part of a 250-acre parcel that lies immediately south of Highway 95 and is adjacent to what has been come to known as the Havasu Riviera. This area to the north here it was formerly known as the Havasu 280. That's the property that many of you are familiar with. You can see our Environmental Learning Center here and the roadway that's under construction currently that you're familiar with. That leads into the 35 acres that we're talking about tonight. This is the state park portion of that development. The specific plan that was adopted in 2008 included a land use plan. This is, once again, the 35-acre portion that we're talking about this evening. You can see it was designated for a mixed-use application, as well as these areas here, and the balance of the property was designated as residential. Now, the 2008 ordinance that adopted the specific plan for the entire 250 acres mentioned two specific zoning districts, mixed use and R4, multifamily residential. And as typical in these plans, they requested at that time, the owners requested exceptions to the underlying zoning districts. However, no one could have foreseen the fact that Lake Havasu City adopted a different development code in 2016. Therefore, the mixed-use district and the R4 district that were referred to in this ordinance no longer exist. So, as a result of that, the staff and the applicant had to look at the intent and all the other information within the specific plan, and the request was to rezone these two properties in this location to mixed use general. And the reason that the applicant requested mixed use general is because not only does the mixed use general allow multifamily, bars, restaurants, it also allows hotels, which is one of the primary elements that was involved in the approval of the specific plan. Also, the balance of, or the 78 remaining lots in this portion of the plan are being divided for single-family residential use. However, they couldn't request the mixed use general zoning designation because it doesn't allow single-family use. So they requested mixed use neighborhood, which not only allows single-family attached and detached, it also does allow quite a number of other commercial uses as well, bars, restaurants, libraries, museums, offices, personal services, that kind of thing. The zoning designations will apply to the entire 250 acres. This is just the first phase, and that was part of the title when it was introduced by the mayor, the first 35 acres. And we have it in two pieces, the 4-acre piece and the 31-acre piece. Now, representatives, or the applicant, spoke at the Planning Commission meeting. There was a lot of discussion with regard to the 60-foot height exception, and that's going to apply to not only this entire 35 acres, but each additional phase that is part of that mixed-use element will also be allowed to have that 60-foot height exception will go along with that. Now, representatives of the owners mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting that there will be additional CC&Rs put in place and recorded to restrict the height and the architectural features that will be allowed on those residential lots as an extra layer of protection. That concludes my portion of the presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions from council? All right, then. This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to come on up?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Michael Gordon, applicant for the project on behalf of the developer here tonight. Wanted to just introduce, this is the first of 8 neighborhoods that are going to be coming before you in the Havasu Riviera project. We're very excited for the support we've received with the progress so far on the city's portion of the project, the roadway that's now under construction, the marina project that's under construction, and we are actively under construction on this neighborhood of the community as well. So we're really excited that this is all moving forward swiftly. The public is very excited about what's to come, as I'm sure most of you are aware. As Stuart mentioned, he did a good job of kind of explaining the background here a little bit. We did go through a very detailed specific plan process back in 2008 that really outlined the development of this project, the zoning and the entitlements that came with that. This project is staying very, very much true to that specific plan. As Stuart mentioned, really why we're here, why the variance, if you were how it's changed from that approval really stems from the change in the city's development code that changed around the zoning districts, and so they don't line up with the current ordinance and the current approvals that we have. So what you're seeing tonight is the first of 8 neighborhoods that are to come. This is the one closest to the marina project on the far west end of the development. It adjoins the city roadway that's under construction. It has the hotel component, the commercial component, as well as the first neighborhood of residential within it. This will be more of a resort feeling neighborhood, if you will, for obvious reasons, the proximity to the marina and the city portions of the project. The synergy there, I think, will be really, really spectacular when it's all said and done. Going forward, you will see, I think in the next action we bring before you here very soon, we will deal with the rezoning and cleaning up the rest of the project, the other 7 neighborhoods. And with that, you'll see preliminary plats for some of the other neighborhoods, and those will continue to come forward throughout the next year as we move this project forward. But tonight, this is the first step, and we're excited to be here and get this moving forward. We have submitted the final plat for this piece as well. Pending approval of this, we're ready and anxious to move forward with all the improvements and working with staff on the review of those improvements that are going to go in and get this first portion of the project developed and built and ready to deliver to the public when the roadway project opens and the marina project opens in the fall of this year. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those this evening.
Questions for Mr. Gordon?
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mayor,
Yes,
motion?
I think we're ready.
I move to adopt ordinance number 18-1191, implementing Phase 1 of the Havasu Riviera Specific Plan adopted in 2008, revising the district boundary by rezoning a 35-acre area from A-P to 4 acres of MU-G and 31 acres of MU-N, and applying the previously approved maximum allowable building height of up to 60 feet.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? The only thing I want to point out, and just in case the public and or people at home didn't pick up on it, that 60-foot height exception was previously granted in 2008, if I recall correctly. Is that right? Right, okay. All right, I think we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, 8.5, adopt resolution number 18-3212, authorizing the submission of an application for fiscal year 2017 State Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG funds, and authorizing all actions necessary to implement and complete the activities outlined in the application. Holly.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Holly Moore, the Grants Administrator for the city. This item relates to Community Development Block Grant funding from the State Special Projects Account. Arizona Department of Housing requires that this item be a public hearing item, which is open to the public for comment. We are submitting an application to Arizona Department of Housing for this funding totaling $300,000 to be used for owner-occupied housing rehabilitation within city limits for low-income homeowners. Home repair is important to improve the quality and value of our neighborhoods. No city funds are used to pay for this program, and this program pays for itself with the grant funds. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? All right, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address council? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion.
Okay.
I move to adopt resolution number 18-3212, authorizing the submission of an application for fiscal year 2017 state CDBG funds and authorizing all actions necessary to implement and complete the activities outlined in the application.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Okay, 8.6, approve cooperative purchase agreement expenditures exceeding $50,000 with James Cook and Hobson, Inc. for wastewater pumps and parts. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The item before you is kind of a housekeeping and transparency issue. We anticipate expending over $50,000 with this company. Show you the previous purchases, and we're going to be about $150,000 this year. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Mark, the only question I really had was, it said that we've already spent 74, but was that all with this company, or was that, in other words, have we already gone over the 50 with the company?
Yeah, but there was a minor misunderstanding about, bits and pieces, and we can put them together, so we should have been reporting this as an expenditure just like on our tires and things like that, so that's where we're at.
Okay. Any other questions? This is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the council on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Motion.
sir. Yes, please.
I move to approve the cooperative purchase agreement with James Cook and Hobson Incorporated and ratify and approve expenditures exceeding $50,000 for the term of this agreement.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Item 8.7, award bid for the airport erosion and foreign object debris control and runway drainage improvements project to Macaulay Construction, Inc. Mr. Abbott.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you. I won't repeat the project title again. This project came in under budget. It is a 90% ADOT grant funded project. We have received approval from ADOT to move forward with the project. The contractor, Macaulay Construction, is out of Winslow, Arizona. It's a 30-day contract, so we anticipate completion in May. And the construction administration contract was actually previously executed under a multiple agreement with CS Companies, who is our airport consultant. This just is a graphic that shows the runways, and essentially the project is to mill and repair the shoulders along the taxiways and the runway. Have a photo here that shows the lip, and this is pretty consistent along all the taxiways, and the runway doesn't meet current FAA requirements, so this project will bring those runways and taxiways up to current requirements. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Congratulations on coming in 27% under the engineer's estimate. It's nice to see one that actually came in lower and not higher. But I also noticed that this bid was 30% lower than the next lowest bid. Are we sure that they can actually complete the project and with the dollars that they're saying that they need?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, and something that we did look at, and we had a discussion with the contractor. So there is a one single line item in the bids that actually stands out, and it's almost $200,000 difference. What this contractor did was they did a little research, and they found that they can actually bring in the 4-inch rock needed for a lot of the drainage repairs out of Kingman, and since they're coming from Winslow, they're going to truck it in themselves. So that was the discussion we had with the contractor and the reason for their savings. So they are confident that they can complete this project within this price.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Do you have any liability? I mean, you said that it currently doesn't meet Federal Aviation Administration standards. Is there any liability here if this weren't undertaken, Mr. Hammond?
I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that question, but I think the potential exists, and that's why it was identified, and ADOT is willing to help us fix the problem.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anybody like to address the city council? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Motion.
Please.
I move to award the bid for the airport erosion and FOD control and runway drainage improvement project to Macaulay Construction Incorporated in the amount of $405,537.50.
Second.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. And then our final public hearing of the evening, award bid for the Mulberry WWTP Aeration Basin Repairs Project to Construction, Inc. Mr. Abbott.
Thank you again, Mayor, Council. So before you is a repair project for one of our aeration basins at the Mulberry Wastewater Treatment Plant. Just to give you a visual perspective of where this basin is at, this is an aerial view of our Mulberry Wastewater Treatment Plant. And this large diameter, about 130 feet in diameter basin, is one of 2 aeration basins that help treat our wastewater. So this original basin was constructed in 1991, so it's approaching 30 years of age. We were actually asked by our wastewater staff to do an inspection of the basin because they were concerned of some structural issues. That was actually done back in 2015. From that inspection, we identified some immediate temporary repairs that needed to be done, following some permanent repairs within a 3-year period of time. Here we're in that 3-year period of time. We've coordinated this effort with some major maintenance items that wastewater is also going to be doing at the same time to save on downtime of the plant and cleaning the aeration basin, prepping it for constructability. So just some photos to give you some perspective. This is the center column of the aeration basin. You can see the damage here that has been caused over time. One of the things that we're actually going to be doing is we're removing this air gap at the aeration basin so we don't have hydrogen sulfide buildup on this concrete and eliminate this problem in the future. This is the weir. This is also being repaired as well. This is actually since completely caved in, and there is a steel bar that was temporarily placed across this to keep the bridge moving forward. One of the items that wasn't originally part of this project was the cap repair. And when I say originally part, it wasn't on the CIP side, but it was one of the tasks that Wastewater Division knew had to be done when they made the repairs to the bridge. But because of its structural and concrete relatedness, we felt that it would be better done under our contract and not left for our wastewater staff to have to deal with. So what this is this is the top cap of the aeration basin, and there's a large wheel that circulates the bridge around this, and that surface has to be such that that wheel has a nice riding surface. So those are just some pictures of that, the current condition of that wall cap. So the original CIP budget for this project is $70,000, and our low bid is $119,000. So obviously that's, almost $50,000 over budget. The wall cap repair is about $34,000 of that. Now, this is a rebid. This is the second time that we bid this project out. The initial bid, we only received one responsive bidder. The construction is actually came in low both times, and with rebidding it, the difference between the first and the second bids was, I think, around $17,000. So it did come in lower. And we plan to use electrical cost savings from rate reductions and just less electrical use from the wastewater utility fund to help offset this over budget cost here. It's a 2-month project, and we anticipate completing this in June, and we will administer the repairs and oversight of the construction in-house. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
Will that basin still be functional while they're working on it, or do you have to drain it? How does?
No, it does, and actually this photo here shows the drained basin condition when we did the structural inspection. It will not be in service. So the coordination with wastewater is paramount because we have to wait till flows recede,
Right.
our winter visitors leave, and we see a drop off before we're able to physically shut that part of the plant down.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
It's kind of a point of curiosity, the hydrogen sulfide damage, which is, you know, you were pointing out for the concrete, the porosity of the concrete when it's, when you change it, I assume that's where you're going to receive some additional protection from any future H2S damage. I know this is right by the wet lab, and I've seen this, so I'm just curious.
Well, actually, you know, what the original solution was to rebuild that structure and then put a special coating on it. Well, what we realized is a better solution is to eliminate the air from that area altogether.
Right.
So we're actually increasing the thickness of that slab, and the bottom of it will actually always be submerged. So you remove the air, there's no hydrogen sulfide created under that area.
Right. Okay. Good. Good. Sounds good.
Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
obviously this is a project that needs to be done, and I did have some questions originally on why we were so far over budget, but you did a good job explaining that there's additional work that you're doing, and that picks up most of the reasons that it is over. So thank you for explaining that the way you did.
Welcome.
All right, this is our final public hearing of the evening. Would anybody like to address the city council? Seeing none, we're going to close the public hearing.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
motion?
Yes, please.
I move to award the bid for the Mulberry WWTP Aeration Basin Repairs Projects to Coons Construction, Inc. in the amount of $119,000.
All right, we do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Is there a concern? Oh. I think we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. Current events, are there any council committee reports? None? Okay, item 10, final call to the public. Would anybody like to address the council as part of call to the public? Future meetings, Tuesday, April 24, 2018. We will have a regular meeting at 6 p.m. On April 26, 2018, at 9:30, we'll have a CIP work session. Thursday, May 3rd, 3018. That's really going to be fun. So you're going to have to wait 1,000 years for that one, folks, but other than that, we'll be good. Yeah, at 9 a.m. we'll have a budget overview work session. And then coming back in time, May 8th, 2018, at 6 p.m., we'll have our regular meeting. Are there any future agenda items from council? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? All right, unless there's an objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.